In this video, I'm going to be talking about situated theory again, and I'm going to be talking more about actually how situated theory and situated theory of knowledge particularly relates to what is true, and if we can actually determine what is true. And as I'll respond in this video to that question, we can. There are ways that we can actually determine what is true that are direct to our perceptions, but are also in proportion to what is true and what is truth. We can't know everything, and that we also have these limited processing capacities and psychological and perceptual capacities that proportion truth to very fine points and certain domains of our psychological apparatus or various processes and perceptual processes that are occurring within the self, which are expressed across various mind-body environment constituents and mind-body environment constituencies. And you'll see throughout this video that the constituents and constituencies are very, very important for establishing knowns and knowledge, as well as they start off with a perceptual process of meaning, and the meaning that we often get direct from perception. So, for example, we're situated in relation to meaning and in relation to knowns. And those knowns operate in relation to, for example, aspects of the surroundings as well as meaning. Meaning very much it operates in relation and association to aspects of the surrounding information and surrounding components, and also information and components within the self, uh, within our CSM, our perceptual processing model that we have of the self and the world around us, at the surroundings. And meaning is pretty much the basis of our perceptions, but the knowns exist within meaning and exist within our direct perceptions of often what's felt. They often start with what is felt directly in the environment. For example, if I touch the ground and the ground is, say, like you're touching a sidewalk, it's going to be hard. It's likely going to be hard unless it's like, we're talking about here likely a concrete sidewalk. Assuming it's a concrete sidewalk that we're touching, it's going to be, and it's solidified, then it's going to be hard when we touch it, and likely maybe even grainy. We might get some dirt on our hands. And these are things that we can know directly through the contact that we make with the sidewalk, right? The hardness of the sidewalk, we can knock on it, it'll likely make a sound, produce a sound and a noise. And we might feel, we're going to feel different textures, but depending on also the force that we apply to that, we might even experience some pain, or we might experience some interest or curiosity in terms of exploring its textures if it's a little bit bumpy. But that starts to become, even though it does have, it falls more in this psychological aspect of truth regarding our direct perceptions and perceptual truth in particular. Because interest is an emotional experience and also has a feeling component and a motivational component, and it's largely has a large perceptual component. And there's also an action-based and a behavioral component to interest. They're important for things like our motivations, our well-being, influencing other perceptions, influencing subsequent motivation, influencing subsequent emotions, feelings, actions, and behaviors. But so direct perception here can allow us to know and determine what is true, not just know or not just establish knowledge, but determine what's true. If you're standing on a concrete sidewalk that's dry, right, it's hard and it has a particular texture to it. Those are true. But the information, for example, like what's on it, like maybe there's a piece of gum, or maybe there's like, you know, a liquid on it, right? Maybe it's rained. And so when you touch it, there's some degree of variability and situational determinism that if you're, say, communicating this to another person, um, there's room for there to be variability and for there to be different information and components that can change the nature of what is true within relation to the subject and the object, and which operate ultimately within the psychological. So operate in this domain of what's psychologically true and what's perceptually true. And this is operates within situational theory as it relates to the self, because we see this connection between meaning, knowns, knowledge, information, and components that allow us to establish what is true and constitute meaning, constitute knowns, constitute knowledge, also gain access to information components, not necessarily constitute information or components, but perceive them and perceive them with various degrees of clarity, as well as also being able to retain and render and then entail various components and information from perceptions of information and components that inform knowns and provide and cultivate a meaning, a deep sense of meaning interrelated between those. And that's all I wanted to say for this video. Thank you. Enjoy.